screen. Okay.
Can I look at everybody?
Hello, Ajahn. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Is it okay if people turn their videos on so I feel like I'm talking to people and not just black squares?
Oh, okay. Okay. Come. So we will pay respect to you first, and then we can change it to the all screen mode. So, okay, so the monks will pay respect to Ajahn first, and then the lay people can do it afterwards. Okay, Ajahn. Okay, now lay can pay respect.
Let us bow. Bow. Second bow. Third bow.
Okay, so much gratitude to you, Ajahn. I don't know if you can see, we are very, very tiny for you on the screen, but we can see you quite clearly.
Yeah, I'm looking at your backs.
Or maybe we should look into the camera. Okay. 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 So just before you joined us, Ajahn, I was just sharing with everybody the reminiscences from the winter of 2017 when yourself and Dr. Dhar in the dingy lobby of Mumtaz had first thought of, a possible monastery in India. And in no small measure, thanks to that conversation, we are all sitting here today. So I was just acknowledging and reminding everyone that we all owe a debt of gratitude to yourself for those seeds then. And I even remember that you had discussed acreage and things of that sort. And so today it so happens that we are sitting in a place almost 3 times the size of what you had initially suggested to Dharsa. So please accept our deep gratitude. And just to let everybody know, today the group that Ajahn Nyaniko is leading has had a real long marathon travel from Gaya to Kushinagar. So you can imagine driving through the heartland of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and what that would do to, like anybody. And they've just finished the Patimokkha. So we are very grateful for this, putting yourself to so much trouble and still joining us at 10:30 at night. So please accept our gratitude, Ajahn. And
I didn't quite come from Gaya. We came from Rajgir, but still.
60 kilometers less.
Yeah.
So Ajahn, we would very much, we thought it might be quite good for our audience here in Sangaram, as well as those who've joined us over Zoom, to possibly listen to you, to your own, spiritual journey, both as a monk and possibly then also as an abbot. And if you permit, I'll summarize what you say in Hindi from time to time. And then if you're up for it, there can be some questions as well from the audience.
Do you want me to talk, or are you going to summarize?
Yes. Ajahn, please go ahead. Whenever you pause, I will then summarize at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to put it so I can see everybody. It's a bit distracting if I'm just looking at a huge picture of myself. How do you put it on? Oh, that's how you do it. Got it. All right, very good. Guess so now everybody else will see a big screen of me, but see everybody else. I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm a bit bleary. You'd like me to start talking? Okay. And it's about my own journey, right? Trying to see what type of audience, what angle is going to be the best here. Looks like we have quite a varied audience. Still about, I'm just looking, over half is just black squares, so it's a little bit depersonalized. But for those of you who are, I can see you in person and can speak to you. And yeah, I've been a bhikkhu for 23 years. So and before that, I was in Anagarika for 1 year and a novice for 1 year. So I went to a Abhayagiri when I was 20 years old, and now I'm 45. I grew up in California, and so just didn't know anything about Thailand or necessarily Buddhism or Buddhist practice, and certainly didn't know anything about India. That came later. But I've just had the normal experiences of a young man in high school. Let's see. Probably the short version of the story is out of high school, graduated high school in 1998. And out of high school, I started studying Tibetan Buddhism, was kind of interested in meditation. Me and my friends were interested in meditation. And I had a feeling I did want to do something spiritual in my life, but I didn't really know what that feeling was. And then I was going to university. I was studying architecture for about a year. And then I was still quite young. So it's sort of, how to say, fairly directionless in my life. So I'm a very impulsive person. And so I actually dropped out of school a week before my finals and decided, well, I thought, what do I really want to do with my life? And so I made this wait for him. Something's happening on our end too. It's okay. I don't mind the noise. It's just we have to do their thing. So I thought, well, what do I really want to do with my life? Or what do I really want to do in the moment? Not necessarily with my life. But I made this determination in terms of what do I really want to do? I don't think I really want to be in school studying architecture at that point. I was only 19 years old. So I thought, well, I'll make this determination. I'll ask myself, what do I really want to do with my life? Or what do I want to do in this moment? And then I'll just drop everything and just do that. And then things will be better. So I asked myself what I really want to do. The answer was, I want to surf and play guitar. So I dropped everything and I got a one-way ticket to Hawaii. And I wandered homeless for a while. And that, you could say, that was the beginning of my spiritual practice. And it was very good. I was also had some bad influences. I was involved in some drugs, not hard drugs or anything, but like drinking and whatnot that normal college students do. But I felt like I wanted to kind of purify my behavior a bit. So things went really well in Hawaii for a while, but then the bad influences crept back in. And at first it was really, really great. And then after about 6 months on the islands, I had an event where I was surfing some great waves and I wiped out and dislocated my shoulder. And then I wasn't able to do these activities I loved. I wasn't able to surf or play guitar suddenly because I was injured. So that caused me to look back into meditation again, back into my mind. I became very depressed because I was suddenly separated from what I liked. So I had this insight that, oh, right, separation from the liked is dukkha. And so at that time, just by chance or karma or whatever, my father back in California discovered an Ajahn Chah book, and he decided to send it to me while I was depressed. And then Ajahn Chah really spoke to me. I found it was very profound, very meaningful. And there was something different about Ajahn Chah's teachings than anything I'd seen yet. And I had been studying the Tibetan Buddhist teachings still, but this was different. I had a feeling like actually it was the first teaching I'd seen that was different from the world. Like all the other spiritual teachings, all the Tibetan teachings I was studying, not all of them, but the kind of more modern teachings or talks I would listen to by modern teachers, it was more like, oh, that's still within the stream of the world. It's still just chasing good feelings, trying to get away from bad feelings. And Ajahn Chah was talking about something different. Ajahn Chah was talking about gaining insight into all feeling and transcending it. And that was different. I would say everything else until that point for me was just spiritual materialism. And Ajahn Chah was actually speaking Dhamma. So there was a different energy about his teachings and it really touched me. So that's when I first decided I might like to become a monk. So I moved back to California. It was a kind of fork in the road because my shoulder had healed by that time and I could start surfing and playing guitar again. But I went to Abhayagiri Monastery and visited for a week. Some of you may know a monk named Ajahn Achalo. So the guest monk at Abhayagiri at that time was then Tan Achalo. He'd been a monk for 4 years at that point. He was the guest monk at Abhayagiri. And he was the first monk I met in person when I went to Abhayagiri as a layman in 2001. And he greeted me. And then I stayed for a week as a guest, which is the rule. You could stay 1 week for first-time guest, and then I asked to come back. Ajahn Pasano was there. He said, yes, that'd be fine. Come back and try to become an Anagarika. So I did that, and I got back on June 23rd, 2001, and was an Anagarika for a year. I was still getting more and more inspired. So I was a novice for a year, was practicing really hard, really into it. Really a lot happier once I started keeping sila, once I started keeping precepts. I was much, much happier in my life. And then we became a bhikkhu on July 13th, 2003. And then I had a lot of experiences. I got to go to Thailand. That door became open to me. Eventually I went to India. Eventually I went to Thailand many times. Eventually I went to India many times. Eventually, I practiced under the Bodhi tree with Ajahn, and eventually I got made an abbot. Now I've been an abbot for 7 years, and now I'm leading a pilgrimage in India with 42 lay people and 9 bhikkhus, all from America. Well, 3 from India. So there's the summary. I don't know if anybody wants to translate or if I should keep talking. We were reflecting on what it's like to be an abbot.
I'll just briefly summarize, Ajahn. तो अजन यानिको ने अपनी आध्यात्मिक जर्नी जो है वो अपने
And so I mentioned Tudong because being an abbot, being the head of a monastery is the only thing I can relate it to. The only thing I can compare it to is being on Tudong, because each day I don't really know what's going to happen. And I don't know what types of generosity I'm going to see. I don't know what types of healthy qualities I'm going to see. And as people, I find it quite gratifying and quite enjoyable to see to be able to be a part of keeping a Vaigiri monastery going and seeing people come and ordain and become Anagarikas. And then it's a little bit difficult because when people ordain, they have to suffer, and it just has to be that way. I want everybody to be happy all the time, but I had to suffer in the beginning, and everybody else has to suffer in the beginning as well. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Doesn't matter how great of a practitioner you are. Doesn't matter what background you came from. Everybody has to suffer when they come to the monastery. And that's not really because, I mean, it's the precepts, and also it's the lack of distraction in the monastery. So, but I love to see people develop. I love seeing people develop in their practice when they come to the monastery. And I can see that for everybody, it's almost everybody's the same. The progression of Anagarika, and then the novice, and then they become more mature as novices, and then they become new monks. And then people who don't disrobe, they keep going, they go to 5 vasas, 10 vasas, and you just see that progression and that maturity. They'll have less anxiety, more joy and well-being the longer they practice. And it's quite wonderful to see. But I'm only really able to appreciate that now after being an abbot for 7 years. First 2 years of abbot, I was co-abbots with an older monk named Ajahn Nyaniko. And then the last 5 years, I've been at the forefront of running the monastery. And it's been very good for practice. I'm really glad I didn't run away, because at first they made me, Ajahn Pasano made me abbot right before COVID, right? So like a year and a half before the COVID era, as I like to call it. And so I kept thinking, couldn't you have just waited 4 years, made me an abbot then, after it all happens? And but actually it was very difficult, but it's a good time for learning and a good time for letting go. So it's like kind of like I think of Winston Churchill. It's the worst of times and the best of times. It's good for wisdom. So I'll back up a little bit and talk about when I was a junior monk. Actually, after I became a bhikkhu, I decided I would disrobe after 5 years. So I was pretty sure I would disrobe after 5 years. That was my plan. And at a Vaigiri, the rule is if you ordain, you try to stay for 5 years. And then you can either leave or stay on. If you leave, you'll have a good foundation for your life. Stay on, you can do that as well. So I thought, okay, after 5 years, I'll do it. I can do it for 5 years, then I'll have a good foundation, and I'll go. But then in the 5th year, something shifted, and then I didn't make any sense to disrobe anymore. So I just kept going. And it's not that things were always like easy. I might have thought about disrobing once or twice. After that, there were difficulties that came up at different times. But the only times I really thought about disrobing again was after I was made an abbot. And so there's like, because I can say that I was quite confident in my practice before I was made an abbot. And then after I was made an abbot, it was revealed that my practice actually wasn't as great as I thought it was. So that was good. That was good. But also various weaknesses were highlighted, and I found I could grow in many areas. And I have grown a lot. And so now I'm still here. I feel like I've passed a lot of tests, and perhaps there are more tests to come, but I feel very grateful for everything I've been given and offered as a bhikkhu. And I feel very blessed to be a part of the Dhamma, to be a part of the Buddha Sasana, and being able to play a part in terms of having Dhamma available in America for people who might be interested in it. So yeah, I guess that's a summary. I don't know if maybe it's after Mahapanyo translates, or a bit of a summary, maybe there could be some questions.
अजन, तो संक्षिप्त में अजन न्यानिको ने अपनी महंत होने का जो समय है उसके बारे में हमसे बहुत खुल के कैंडिडली फ्रैंकली शेयर किया। वो बताते हैं कई अलग अलग 2-3 बिंदुओं को उन्होंने छुआ, मैं कोशिश करूंगा उनको आप तक पहुंचे।
Monastery and this meeting today. Just a simple question: how did you manage your, your likes with music? Because you had, you told you used to like to play guitar, and then your story. So, how do you manage that? Now after becoming a monk, I think you share about that, your experience with music and guitar. Thank you so much.
Yes, I did miss the surfing and playing guitar when I mean, there was times when I would be doing many hours of walking meditation or sitting meditation and be very hot during the summertime. I just want to go jump in the ocean. Or there were times when I'd be like having a conflict with some other monk in the monastery. I'd be like, oh, I just want to go play a guitar. So, there would be the times when I was suffering. I'd want to get away from it somehow in those ways. But then I found with the path of meditation, it's much more about looking at what's arising. I actually, when I first started going to Thailand, so my 3rd year as a bhikkhu, I was able to get that opportunity to go to Thailand for the first time. My parents, in the meantime, had moved from California to Hawaii. And so I would stop over and see them for a week whenever I would go to Thailand, or return from Thailand. I would go to Hawaii for a week. And my father is a great guitarist, and he had his guitar there. So I actually did pick up the guitar and try playing some songs when I was visiting them. And I usually wrote songs. I didn't really play songs that other people wrote. I would write my own songs. And I found it unpleasant. Actually, it was an unpleasant experience for me. And I wondered why that was. I reflected on that, and I realized it was that when I was playing guitar, I was trying to create a certain emotion, and then once I created that emotion, I was grasping at it as much as I could. But with the path of meditation that I had already been doing for 4 or 5 years at that point, then the path of meditation was all about trying to see what I was experiencing and lessen the grasping, making the grasping less. So then, because of that, because my practice was already to try to have less craving and clinging, then when I picked up the guitar, it was like going back to trying to create more clinging again, and I found it unpleasant. So it was then easy. It was very easy then to look at those cravings to play guitar or do anything else in my mind and say, oh, it's just more trying to get away from what's happening. It's trying to get away from the suffering that I don't want to look at. So from that point on, it was actually quite easy to give that up. I mean,
Thank you.
what was the question? I'm talking more about the transition.
Yes, your transition into settling from, being uncomfortable to being comfortable in the role of abbot, and how does it continue to be a learning process?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like survival. Like you kind of as in this type of position where I would feel like all of my decisions carry more weight, or like it's more high stakes. Like before, I could make a wrong decision or something, and maybe it would affect only me negatively. It wouldn't affect anybody else. But now when I make decisions, each small decision will have more of an effect perhaps on more people. And so it's more like having to use wisdom. And then sometimes it's not really clear what the right decision might be, or what the right way forward might be. So I would become very stressed in the beginning, because actually all abbots have this experience where everything is heavier. So actually I was writing emails to other senior monks with subject lines like "cry for help," and then I would describe how I was feeling crushed by everything. And so, like Ajahn Kalyano in Australia describes this. Somebody asked him, what was it like to become an abbot? And he said it was like strapping 2 lead weights onto his legs and never taking them off. And I could relate to that for sure. But then through doing that, I feel eventually one becomes stronger. It's very painful at first to carry that weight, but then eventually there's an incredible strength that can come out through that. And it's only through just doing it. There's no real technique or way to do it. It's just the way to do it is to not give up. The way to do it is just to keep going. The way to do it is just to endure and not quit. And then I feel I've gotten stronger by being able to do that. And of course, that can be applied to anything in our lives. With Dhamma practice, if we just don't give up, we can't not make progress. If we keep the precepts and we meditate every day, we can't not make progress. It's just natural that there has to be progress. If you follow the path as the Buddha taught it, there's no way you can't not get those results. You have to get those results because the results come exactly in line with Buddha's teachings. So if they aren't coming, there's something we're doing that's not in line with the teachings. We need to investigate our behavior. We need to investigate what we're paying attention to, how we're paying attention, and so on. So that it happens very naturally. I mean, I remember in 2019 going with Lumpur Pasano to pay respects to Lumpur Liam at Wat Pah Pong. And Lumpur Pasano at that time was introducing me as kind of his heir to the abbotship of Abhayagiri. And Lumpur Liam, usually when people introduce themselves as abbots or like new abbots come to Lumpur Liam, he always downplays it. So if somebody comes and they're a new abbot and they ask, oh, well, do you have advice for new abbots? And they might be kind of holding themselves like, I'm an abbot. And Lumpur Liam will usually say something like, the abbot's only duty is to show people where the toilets are. Or he'll say, the abbot's only duty is just to pick up sticks in the forest. He would normally say something like that. But in my case, when I was there with Lumpur Pasano, he said, abbot of Abhayagiri, that's going to be heavy. But then he said, but it's through lifting heavy things that you become stronger. So I always kept that in mind. And that type of advice did help me to become stronger and not give up when it was incredibly difficult. I mean, when I was a junior monk, I had this experience of doing walking meditation and driving myself to tears with doubt. And only later, like it was like 2020, it's like maybe June, July 2020, was I on the walking meditation path at my kuti as a new abbot with tears of doubt, actually literally crying because I didn't know if I had enough strength to keep going. So then somehow I did, and I'm still here. So it just comes through just doing it and just gaining that experience, keep going.
I have 2 questions. One is, you mentioned that over the years, you've seen a lot of people, lay practitioners and monks grow in Dhamma. And we've seen them sort of come out of their suffering. If you could share, especially for lay practitioners, since we have a new monastery here in Sangharam, how is it that lay practitioners can come to a monastery and, for the lack of a better word, take advantage of this space in order to grow in the Dhamma journey, in your experience? So that's one question. And the second question I have is, you also mentioned the tears of the doubt. And so if you could shed some light on how did you overcome some specifics that one can practice whenever they have doubt in their practice, if they are on the right track, especially if they are lay practitioners.
answer the second question first. I mean, that's just coming back to enduring through it. There's no real technique for getting through it. Because when you have a lot of doubt, it's not like more study or just figuring it out. It's going to make it better. It really does come from just endurance and the adhitthana, the determination to just keep going, whatever doubts arise. So seeing doubt as doubt, it's hard to do, but that's really the best way. Just seeing it as doubt rather than something that is really important that needs to be dived into, because doubt doubt itself is a lot of suffering. So, but the first question in terms of, can you remind me again? I'm falling asleep a little bit.
The question was, how is it that a lay person can go to a monastery setting and take advantage?
Yeah, take advantage of it. Just take advantage of whatever they offer and try to take advantage of it in a way that you're not a burden on them. That's the best way from a perspective of an abbot and a monk. The best way to plug in is to not have all sorts of special projects, not to have all sorts of special project ideas, just to plug in and just kind of receive what they're offering. And if you receive what they're already offering and you don't have too many ideas of your own, then you're going to gain a lot of benefit from that. And then the very best is the lay people who come and plug in all the time. Like we have lay people at Abhayagiri who come to every single evening puja, and they just do that as their practice. And I love to see that, because that's just what they're doing. That's a support for their practice. There's these two elderly women who come to Abhayagiri every evening, and they practice and they do the chanting and the meditation, and then they live locally, so they go home afterwards. They don't actually live in the monastery. But then also, if there's events like this or Dhamma talks or lunar observance days where the monastics might be sitting up in meditation through the night or till midnight or something like that, then to engage in those things, and also to keep the Uposatha observances, like keep the 8 precepts once a week or once every 2 weeks. That keeps you connected to a spiritual aspiration, a monastic aspiration, because for lay people, even if you have no aspiration or idea to ordain in this lifetime, then you're actually planting the seeds for ordaining in future lifetimes, and even planting the seeds for path and fruit and nibbana in this or in future lifetimes. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but all that matters is that we plant the seeds for it now. So plugging in as much as possible, that is the way to plant those seeds and to come up with those initial aspirations. Now, as you're plugging into the monastery, as you're joining in with the meditations, as you're undertaking the precepts, then you might have a point where actually you might be meditating and you feel that a very clear direction or aspiration for your Dhamma life, that you feel you want to take it in. And that's also very important to follow that and to not ignore that. So some people, when they're meditating at the Bodhi tree, for example, because of the energy and the power of the place, they might suddenly feel like they want to make an aspiration for Nibbana, no matter how long it takes. So as you practice, then those things might come up, and it's good to make much of that, good to follow that. So that's really the best way to plug in. And then you kind of keep your eye open to what help is needed, maybe what work is needed or what help is needed. And then within your means, you can support that. And if each person supports just a little bit, then that's a lot of support. So it doesn't take much. Like, you think of the Pindabat, the alms round. All it takes is a lot of villagers putting one little bit of rice in our bowls, and then our bowl fills up and we have a full meal. And so that's the same with the support of the monastery. Actually, the monks are there so that the lay people and everybody else can practice. It's not really about building things or getting anything done. It's more about fostering the practice in other people, and that's what we're going to delight in the most. That being said, building things and making nice facilities for the Sangha, this can be a nice practice as well. and it can be very enjoyable. It can be samaki in terms of coming together, building community, making more Dhamma friends, kalyanamitta, working together, accomplishing things together. This is all practice. It's all very important. So yeah, just kind of keeping your eyes open. How can you help? How can you use the place to practice? So on.
Key,
In practice, as lay people, like, should we use our free time, all our free time, into formal meditation practice? Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. The right effort doesn't mean necessarily time. We don't really quantify that in terms of time, but it's more about this quality of Dhamma Vichaya. The more we think about the Dhamma, the more continuously we're able to consider the Dhamma and then see our experience according to Dhamma, then that's going to come into the meditation. Some of my best meditations early on as a junior monk were after I'd worked all day, for example. So you find that an acts of generosity, then you have, for myself, I would have a better meditation after engaging in an act of generosity. So I found there's this link between dana and bhavana. Actually, the progression the Buddha talks about is dana, sila, bhavana. So there is a connection between dana, sila, and bhavana, the mental cultivation. It's just the meditation doesn't exist apart from those things. So we do need to focus on those things as well as a good use of our time. So how much of our day can be used for dana, for example? Do we do any volunteer work, or are we generous with how generous are we with our family, for example? We can find opportunities for dana all the time. And that's a foundation for meditation. So that's right effort. That's right effort. And then sila, actually undertaking the 5 precepts, that's also right effort. So that's already, those factors of right effort already in place. And then a right effort in terms of the meditation is not necessarily a strong effort, but the meditation is more about a natural settling. It's more about putting the causes in place for the mind to settle in a very natural way. And of course, those causes are dana and sila. So all of that would be right effort. And then when things happen in a very natural way, then our practice can be very, very enjoyable and quite fulfilling. One thing that's good to remember as well is that the Buddha has this progression of happiness comes before samadhi. And so dana and sila that is like those foundations of happiness and gladness in the mind as well. We can, and actually the Buddha did say when you enjoy giving, it's more meritorious than when you give without enjoying it. So if we learn how to give and enjoy giving, then that becomes the happiness sort of builds on itself. And then we have a sense of strong contentment. Through that strong contentment, it'll be easy to meditate. Our mind will just naturally settle. We can't really force our mind or will our mind to settle. That's not necessarily right effort. And also, trying to stop thinking is not right effort, because the Buddha never said that no thought is a factor of the path. He said right thought is a factor of the path. He didn't say no thought is a factor of the path. Although no thought can happen starting in the 2nd jhana, according to the text, but it's through that natural settling. It's not a forced state of no thought. So the right effort, it's really a sense of composure and balance. It's not necessarily like physical effort. Like Ajahn Chah would say, to make the body strong, you have to work out, you have to put forth physical effort. But to make the mind strong, it has to settle. So it's a different type of effort. It's a different quality of effort. Dana and sila put a lot of attention there. It's more about the effort to direct our attention in the right way, directing our attention in skillful ways and directing our attention away from unskillful things. That's really the right effort as well. Do that all the time, whether you're working or free time, not free time. if you're keeping the precepts, then you could do that almost all the time.
Okay, so maybe we'll spare Ajahn the Hindi this time and invite him to have a rest, and maybe invite Ajahn Gunakaru to convey our gratitude and then pay respects to Ajahn.
Good to see everybody. Sadhu, nice Dhamma hall.
Maybe someday, Nimona-chan, we invite you. Come here.
Look for an opportunity. Yeah, be great.
So thank you, Ajahn, for your time and giving Dhamma talk and Q&A. So maybe we'll pay respects to you. Ajahn, safe journey. Good night.
All right. Thank you. Good night.